Hello, and welcome back to Bad Lit Friends, the writing podcast that still barely knows what it's doing. I'm your host, Kirk Rafferty, and this is my co-host.
I'm Meagan Thompson-Mann.
And what are we talking about this week, Meagan?
This week, we are talking about what, if anything, writers owe readers. Maybe $5, and Wendy's coupon. I don't know. But this topic has kind of been bubbling up between the two of us for a little while. A lot of it was based off the back of stray comments seen on, sorry to say it, threads, and also in Reddit and other social media spaces where writers and readers don't always have expectations and deliverables that match up properly.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it doesn't matter, and sometimes it kind of does. And we've been seeing a little bit more of it this week. It kind of touches a little bit on what we talked about in our Boo Capitalism episode last week about
Yeah.
Mia Ballard. And this was actually the topic that we had planned out for last week when we did our special alert Mia Ballard breaking.
Yeah, it was such big news that we threw the script away and we just ran.
It was
We
very
ran.
dramatic. There was a lot of running. For two old people, it was a lot on the knees,
It was. It was. So much ibuprofen.
Yeah, both, topical and in capsule form.
Yes.
So, I thought we'd talk a little bit about Mia Ballard before we do our updates on what we're writing, just simply because it's been all Mia Ballard all the time on social media, and it has been really interesting. We didn't know when we recorded on the 20th where this story was going to be when we sat here today on the 27th of
Mm-hmm.
March. And it has been interesting and actually kind of encouraging. So, as predicted in the beginning, there was a lot of pushback and saying, "Isn't this terrible? We've all been duped. This is the nerve of this woman to have done
Yeah.
this, to have duped everyone." And then writers and some agents too started pushing back on social
Mm-hmm.
media and elsewhere in thought pieces published online.
And full disclosure, that was my first instinct as well.
Mhm.
Is like another freaking writer using AI, getting a book deal. Yeah. That was my first instinct as well.
Yeah. But what happened with these other writers and agents was, so now you're gonna think all of our shit is AI because you don't like how we write? Because nothing that we're seeing here is actually saying this is definitely AI. This is
Mhm.
all vibes-based AI witch finding, as much as you want us to believe that there's something, scientific, there isn't.
Well, and so what? It takes one story in the New York Times, a very flawed story, by the way, one story in the New York Times for a major publisher to say, well, that's it. We brush our hands of you on your way. You're a
Bye.
horrible, horrible person. Yeah.
Yeah. Naughty, naughty, naughty Mia. But so there has been more, or at least what I've been seeing has been more of the Mia Ballard may have done something wrong, but she is a symptom of the problem, the greater problem. Basically, everything that we covered in our podcast has been covered in other places as well.
Well done,
And
us.
we're gonna link in the show notes a LinkedIn post by someone who was the person to tip off the author of that New York Times piece, explaining why it was that he was convinced that Shy Girl was written, at least in part, by AI. Spoiler alert, you might not like this. It might make you even more mad because it wasn't exactly the most sound methodology. It was, again, feels more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And also trying to sell a product.
And as we said in our previous episode, this AI report was run on a pirated copy of the book.
Mhm.
And uh, I'm sorry, like, I have a big problem with
Yes.
that. First of all, we have no idea how manipulated the copy of that book is, right? I
Mhm.
mean, could have been incredibly tampered with. We don't know. But even if there was nothing tampered with the book, The fact is, like, this is just so, you're going out on a witch hunt to, and I'm not gonna mention the piracy website,
Yeah.
you're going out to this piracy website. So what? That's journalism now?
Apparently, it's weak. If you feel like getting mad, go to the show notes of this episode. It'll be there.
Mhm.
It's a LinkedIn post. That should make you mad enough on its own.
And by the way, he does not mention in his little, I don't know what this is. It's not an apology. I don't know what it is.
No,
It's a
no.
doubling down, I guess. He does not mention that he pirated the copy. Now he says he got the copy from a friend. I'm sorry, I'm gonna call bullshit on that.
Yeah, yeah.
He is responsible for pirating Mia's book,
He
or I'm sorry,
says
not pirating, but receiving a pirated copy.
he says that he got a copy that had the DRM stripped out of it from a
Mhm.
friend.
From a friend.
From
Yeah.
a friend that that he then chopped off some of the, I guess there was some material that was not in the original self-pub edition that he chopped out. Okay.
Mhm.
So you've already like changed this book from what, like, okay, you're not actually like reviewing the book at all. Sorry.
And not explicitly said, but he didn't pay for he got this DRM free book. He didn't pay for it.
No, it's all free. So
So even if he really did have a friend, which again, I'm gonna call bullshit on, even if he did have a friend, he did not pay for this book. His friend, I'm using scare quotes here, his friend did not pay for the book. Nobody paid for this book, and so, you pirated Mia's book, and then you tossed her under the bus.
maybe it was me as editor. Sorry, that was a
Yeah,
cheap
yeah.
cheap jab, but
So,
yeah. Uh,
yeah, fuck you,
yeah,
guy that wrote that article.
yeah, fuck you. And,
I'm
the
not even
fact
gonna say his name.
no, and the fact that it was published on LinkedIn says pretty much everything you need to know.
I know, right?
So how's your writing going this week?
So my writing has been kind of slow. Like I said last week, I've decided to indie pub my previous book that died on submission. So I'm going to go ahead and indie pub this. What I have been doing is just lots of little tiny edits to really get it in shape and uh, get it to a point where I'm gonna be really happy to get this finally in people's hands. I think I wrote that book 4 years ago. So, yeah, I think it's about time for it to see the light of day. So, that's what I've been spending a lot of my time on is doing that. I've been doing a lot of research into the indie pub space. Indie pub listeners, please, reach out, send me your best tips. Let me know what works for you. So that's one avenue. I've also got a book that I've been writing. It is a horror. It had I would say I'm probably, if you average it over the last week, I think I only wrote for 2 days, and I've probably only written about 200 words.
Eh,
So things are going slow on that front, but things are kind of picking up on the other book. And I'll talk more about that book later on if you want. Maybe as I get closer to actually getting this thing released. So that's what I've been doing. What about you?
last weekend was an absolute fucking banger of a word production weekend.
Nice.
I finished a chapter. I wrote close to 3,000 words over the weekend. I realized that I need to write another chapter. That's okay. This is draft 1. That's okay. So now I am, instead of being 3 chapters away from the end, I'm 4 chapters away, but I think these are actually gonna be shorter chapters. I also decided that the one that I was working on was going to be a monster, and I said, "You know what? I am the author. I can end it here." And I did. So I'm very pleased with that one. So the end is in sight on book 2. Very glad. And I was telling Kirk before we started that I have had the crazy, slightly demented idea to turn my 500,000 word grand oeuvre into a Wattpad joint. We'll see. I don't
And for
know.
those who haven't been keeping up, this was a blog that you used
A
to
fake
run.
blog, a
Yeah,
fake
yeah.
online journal based on characters that Kirk and I created over 10 years ago to make mischief online, and we did. and we were told we were very, very naughty people. And I couldn't stop thinking about these characters and ended up writing this, basically over COVID. I wrote just a lot of words because, well, COVID's crazy. COVID was crazy. So I wrote a lot of words and it's just been hanging out there. And I'm like, well, you know what? Why not? Why not try something different, something new? So I will be starting work this weekend on tentatively titled It Could Have Been Worse. And if I manage to get a chapter or scenelet or whatever up, I will put it in the show notes
Yeah.
and you could all tell me, wow, Meagan, you really have come a long way from 2019 when you started writing again because I'm going to try and edit as lightly as possible because some of this writing is so bad, but that's okay. That's all right. Just let it all out. And Kirk and I were talking right before we started recording about someone on Threads that I saw today who she's an aspiring author, and she said, "I'm about to start querying." And I just keep wondering, is my problem that I'm not gonna be able to find an audience because my book is just too smart for them? Well, I can tell you my book is not too smart for most people.
It's just dumb enough, isn't it?
It's just dumb enough. But But I learned so much from writing this. Some of the same tropes I'm dealing with, in books 1 and 2 are kind of have their genesis in here. So,
Yeah,
let's
because no
see.
writing is wasted.
Absolutely, and if I can monetize this sucker, I will, because despite last week's episode, I am still a capitalist, not on the collective yet. So, um, let's start with our question here.
Mhm.
What do writers owe authors? So I will start with a second question as a
Okay.
follow up. What does owe even mean?
Isn't
Uh,
that when you, like, bang your knee on a on the coffee table? You go, "Oh,
yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, that's."
No, no, that's, well, depends on your accent.
See,
It might be ow.
my book is just dumb enough too.
That's okay. Is it at a fifth grade level? I will say about that author, writer, whatever, that she was pilloried for this. It's like nobody's ever gonna wanna read your books, but this is what pen names are for, theoretically. So, yeah, what does "oh" mean?
Yeah, so I think in this context, there's kind of an agreement between the author and the reader, isn't there? You're paying me money for something that I have created. There is an expectation then that I'm not wasting your time
Yeah,
and your money, right? And
yeah,
so there is a certain amount of owedness, if I can coin that word, from the writer to the reader.
yeah.
And it's things like, quality that you put out, and especially this is gonna come down on indie writers. It means that you have proofread your book, you've edited your book, you have maybe, hopefully even hired an editor to make sure. So, you're putting the expectation is that you're putting a quality product in their hand.
Mhm,
There's also this, so I was actually thinking about this before the show, um 'cause I was going to say there's an expectation that I'm gonna tell you a good story, right?
mhm,
And I don't know that that I mean, yes, a reader is going to expect that,
mhm.
of course, but you're not going to tell a good story to all readers, right?
Yeah,
And so what I would say is that the expectation, what I owe you as a writer is that I tried to tell you a good story.
mhm.
I told it in a manner, hopefully, that, is consistent with how good stories are told, things like that. Now, in the end, you may just say, "Wasn't for me." You may DNF it. But the expectation, I think, from the writer is that you attempt to tell the best story that you can tell.
You made me think about the writer being a guide to the reader. This is my
Mhm.
world. I'm going to lead you through my world. Take my hand. It's like, not to get all like deep here, but or highfalutin, but it's like Virgil leading Dante through the underworld. They like
Ooh, that is
it's yeah, it is very very falutin. But there's a level of trust. There
uh-huh.
needs to be some trust between a reader and a writer. Trust me, I'm a writer. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to entertain you. So we trust that there's a level of trust between readers and writers, that writers are going to be their guide and take them on a journey. I'm going to show you my world. I'm going to show you my truth or my versions of truth, or
Mhm,
maybe it's lies that are pretending to be truth,
mhm.
but take my hand and I'll show you the way. And I think sometimes when readers get let down is that that connection is compromised or it's severed. And there are any number of ways that we're going to talk about today about how that connection can be compromised or severed. And when sometimes you can save it, but ultimately, as a writer, the only way you can do it is with your words. And what Kirk also said as well is that it's not going to be the same for every reader. Hopefully, the genre that you're writing for, most of the people or enough of the people who read that genre, you're going to they're gonna hold your hand the whole way or close to it. It doesn't matter if, you write clean romances and someone who likes sword and sorcery bust 'em ups, is like, ugh, who cares? It's the people who like to read your Amish romances that you need to be worried about, and if they're like, "Well, that would never happen. Brother Jedediah would never sit in a room alone with Sister Amy." That's what you need to be worried about. So, I said, like, there's a lot of non-controversial stuff here. Like, you need to, and Kirk is right at the pointy edge of this right now. Like, you need to be making sure that your grammar, your punctuation, stylistic preferences for commas aside.
We talked a lot about that before the show.
Before we started, I had a whole rant about commas. And my constant fighting with Microsoft Word about my comma placement. But you're gonna have some basic grammar. You're gonna have decent punctuation, with some flights of fancy. Your plot is going to make sense,
Mhm.
unless it's not supposed to make sense. And your prose is going to be readable, both in terms of like, I can read this book because it's got a coherent story, but also in the way, if you are self pubbed, that it actually is laid out in a way that allows people to read it. Like
Yeah.
these are super basic things, right?
There's negotiables and there's non-negotiables, right? So the negotiables are basically your story. Your non-negotiables are punctuation, proper formatting, all the things that makes a book readable.
Yeah. And also that if you have a descriptive blurb on your dust jacket or like inner flaps or on the back of your paperback or in your description online for your ebook, that what you've written, it matches that. Like that there is something that you're not delivering something that isn't what you promised, right? And also, because we have to say it, you wrote this, you didn't plagiarize it, there is no AI involved. Hopefully. Unless you say up front, "Hey, I'm a scuzzbag who used AI." In which case it's okay. Own it. Own it. You suck, but that's all right. Somebody might buy it.
I'll even add too that I think that you owe your readers the expectations of the genre that you wrote in. So if you wrote a romance, it better have a happy ending, just to use the cliche example.
Yeah. That's such an interesting thing. We'll
Be
get back there in a moment, but
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that, there are expectations that your readers are going to have of how your story progresses, and you kind of owe it to them to stay within those boundaries. Now, I know that there are people out there that are gonna say, "But my book is special." And I need to tell you that your book is not special. That we have evolved to consume stories in very specific ways. And you may think you're very clever and you may think, "You know what? I'm not gonna do a 3-act structure. I'm gonna do a 1-act structure." And you're just gonna write a crappy book. I'm sorry. So
Yeah.
learn the craft of writing because your readers will expect that from you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's readers, like a lot of us, just don't have enough time. If they go in expecting something experimental or a little bit out of the box, they will have a different attitude than if it's being sold to them like, this is a romance
Mhm.
novel with a happily ever after or a happily for now at the end of it. And what they get instead is a tragedy and people are dead at the end of it.
Mhm.
And yeah, there was some love stuff and some sexy times, not a romance novel. What I was saying before is that there is a lot of debate right now online about what makes a romance novel particularly. And right now, in the past sort of maybe 40, 50 years, the expectation of romance novels is that there will be a happily ever after, or more recently, a happily for now, which I think is actually a real improvement, that things can be open at the end of it. It's okay for now.
Mhm.
But there are a lot of people who are saying, "Well, this I have a book, I wrote a book, and there's a lot of romance in it, but it has an unhappy ending."
Yeah. You
And
did not write a romance.
you didn't write a romance novel, and romance
Yeah.
writers will say, "Y Your book may be great. I'm not saying it's not
Sure.
great,
Yeah.
but you didn't write in my genre, so that's okay. You don't have to be in it." "Well, we need to make it bigger. We need to make the genre bigger." Why? There's other spaces for you.
Maybe you accidentally wrote literary fiction and you think it's a romance, right? Yeah.
I'm pointing some thumbs at myself because although it my sometimes my book gets to lit fic levels, but mostly it isn't. And there's a romance in this, and this is a goddamn tragedy. There is there is an ending that looks like it could be a happy ending if you didn't read all of the 300 pages that were before it.
Mhm.
This is an absolute tragedy. I did not write a romance novel, and I didn't set out to write a romance novel. And we can think about expanding genres, and perhaps this is like a bigger conversation for another time. But the reality is, people who want a romance novel know what they want. It is the most popular genre for a reason. It's because people are expecting specific beats. If you're not doing that, you're going to have a pissed off reader. And as writers, what we owe our readers is to meet their expectations enough. You can riff on them, you can do weird things, you can subvert
Mhm.
them,
Mhm.
but you're still, if you say, I wrote a mystery, there needs to be some question marks, some puzzles happening.
I liken it to, um, a theme park, right? So, you can have a theme park that has all kinds of weird stuff going, but it better have a roller coaster.
Mhm.
If your theme park doesn't have a roller coaster, you've done something wrong. And this analogy falls apart very, very quickly. There are certain things that you expect from a theme park, even though one park can be very different from another theme park. The same way, your romance novel, your horror novel, whatever,
Mhm.
can be very different from another horror novel, but there are gonna be certain expectations. You just have to write to those expectations. You can be creative about writing to those expectations. There's
Yeah,
nothing you're not
it's
being put
so
in
cool.
handcuffs. Yeah.
It's so cool to work within a genre
Mhm.
because you have guardrails, right? And, like, how can I be weird and clever and funny and, like, just make like, stay like, keep coloring in the lines, but be very creative within those lines.
Yeah.
It's great. If you like to be a little bit of a fucker, this is for you. Like, if you like to be slightly trolly, genre fiction is for you. And you can also make it bigger, but you're not writing straight for a genre. You might be writing a crossover, which is also absolutely fine. I wanna make that totally clear. I'm not saying that if you're not writing it within a genre that you're doing something wrong, you just are doing something different. And I love weird stuff. More weird stuff, please. So, write that robot romance mystery. Do it. Fly that freak flag. It's all good. And kind of speaking of I'm sorry to make this all romance all the time today, but it's something that comes up a lot, I think, in romance, but also in romantasy and fantasy, but also in contemporary fiction. Content warnings, trigger warnings, if you're old fucks like Kirk and me. And this is always a very hot topic. And it's something that I actually was talking about with Anne, who was on the show, a few months back about content warnings. And I have come around to the idea that I think that content warnings are a good thing. What Anne and I were talking about is the placement of content warnings. And she and I kind of both agreed that if you're gonna have them, maybe in the back for people who don't want spoilers.
Mhm.
But again, it's a personal preference.
And it can be something as simple as, letting them know that this is spicy romance
Yeah.
or not spicy romance because, spicy romance readers get very disappointed when they read a non-spicy romance,
Oh,
I'm
yes.
told. So so a content warning could actually be something like there's a term for it. What am I thinking of?
Well, there's open door and closed
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
door.
open door,
There's
closed
the
door, that's what I
yeah,
was so this is a
there's
closed
that.
door romance, right?
This is a 5 chili pepper.
Yeah, yeah,
I came for my 5 chili pepper romance, and you gave me 1.
yeah.
Oh, ew. You need to think about as writers, we should consider that not every reader is going to have the same for our creativity. So what we may think is acceptable to ourselves or our friends or our community may not be to another community who genuinely wants to read your book. So it's taking care of your readers and helping them to keep holding your hand and trusting you. This was really hard for me because I'm kind of cynical about some things and uh I grew up watching horror movies. It was something that my dad and I liked to do when I was a kid. And so maybe I have no soul left because I'm a lawyer, but I like shocks. I like to be scared. I like to
Yeah,
be titillated. I like to read difficult things. I like to read things that make me feel big emotional kind of like crests, right? I want to feel taken out of myself for a moment.
mhm.
That's me though. That's how I like to read. And now I realize like not everybody is like me even though they should be. They're not. And so we need to take care of people. It's this concept of like reader beware. Okay, that's the start of the conversation that you're having with your reader is here be monsters. But you might want to say, these monsters include, uh, you know, flying dragons. And most people are okay with that. Or, this has sexual assault on the page. This has sexual assault reference that takes place off the page. It is okay. Or pregnancy loss, or there's a lot of gore. This is body horror, or any number of things. You can privately go, God, like, why would that be like a content warning? Jesus Christmas. But to somebody, it might be meaningful. And you may very well write a book you had no idea that would get somebody upset about.
Right.
That's okay. You tried.
A classic example is, there's a lot of readers that do not wanna see pet death, right?
Mhm.
Or animal
Mhm.
death.
Mhm.
And I mean, I think many of us have kinda suffered through the loss of a pet, and it's pretty traumatic, and even I won't not read something if it's got animal death in it, but I don't enjoy reading
Yeah.
about
I
animal
might
death.
skim it,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that, there are people who really it does really affect, and so,
Yeah.
yeah, if you're gonna
Yeah.
kill off an animal, you should
I put a
probably
note down
disclose that.
here. Yeah, you should. I put a note down here that right now it's a huge topic. This dark gothic fiction by Ava Reed called Inamorata, and it has not been marketed as such, but it's been described as such as being a dark romance. It is not a dark romance. It's body horror
Mhm,
and necrophilia, like a small amount.
mhm.
And it's gotten people very bent out of shape saying, "How are they marketing this as dark romance? This is not dark romance. This is yeah, this is talking about maggots and stuff." Well, maybe you saw it and the cover made you think that it was a dark romance. That might be just a failure of either the reader's concentration
Yeah.
or could be the way that it's being marketed.
Yeah, I
It
was
could
gonna
be.
ask, do you know how it was marketed?
It was many readers felt the book was mismarketed as a romance, a romantic.
Okay, yeah.
Other people said it was a grim dark horror novel. So, gothic horror fantasy, and people thought it was romantasy, and it's not. It's being marketed as gothic horror fantasy
Okay.
or gothic fantasy, not romantasy. So I think people wanted to see romantasy or dark romantasy in this book and
Mhm,
didn't get it because that's not what it was. It
mhm.
wasn't intended to be, received as such, but there's some disconnect, and maybe that is because the dark romantasy space, is very large right now, and people want more of it. Uh, Look, I've tried to read it. I'm not getting very far. This is again, like, it's not my bag, and that's okay. I'm sure these people are doing a great job. It's not me. I
Yeah,
can't hold their hand, and that's a me thing. That's a reader thing. That's not a writer thing because plenty of people think this stuff is really exciting and really cool, and I'm just like, "Yeah, I don't see it." But it is do you need more of a warning than saying this is the genre that it's in? If reader like, how much can we anticipate that readers are going to project their own desires
right.
onto our books? It's something I worry about a lot with my book because I have a toxic relationship at the heart of my book and a villain who is kind of sexy. So I worry like are there going to be readers out there who are like, God damn, because it happens on Blue Sky when I do these pitch contests and some ladies are like, hooey! And I'm like, do not fall for it. Do not fall for it. So another thing, briefly, I say this as the whitest brown lady you will ever meet, diversity.
Mhm.
Okay. So it is if you're writing diverse characters and if you've got a main character and you don't share something with that main character, you're going to need one of the best sensitivity readers that you can afford to
Yeah.
hire. There's a reason why my main characters are white ladies not to put too fine a point on it. I may be moderately brown, but I'm a middle class white lady who went to Yale. Like I'm a stay in my lane because I'm afraid. Look, I can have characters who are secondary characters who I can write about who are diverse, who are, LGBTQ, or they are
Mhm,
the husband of the main character in my book is like my fiance, half Korean, or, I in book 2, there are best friends who are Hispanic, who are Black, who are Asian, because these are filtered through the lenses of the main character who is white. This is also my experience is of being around my group of friends who are very diverse,
mhm.
but it's filtered through my eyes. And also, I'm making sure to talk to my friends about these things. Like, does this actually match your expectations? Because I don't want to piss people off. I also don't want to get pilloried online. But you have a responsibility to your readers to not get this fucking wrong and just assume, like, oh, well, my best friend is Black. So the fuck what?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I that does not qualify you. I will tell you that I have 2 books with female main characters. I am not a female, and so I take extra care when writing these characters to not only, keep in mind that I am a male writer, um, and, that they're just obviously experiences that I don't share with my main
What, like
character.
like running downstairs boobily? Stuff
Exactly,
like that?
exactly, yeah. Do they go both up and down at the same time, or are they independent?
What's the
Nobody's been
physics
able to give me
behind
a
it?
straight answer on this.
We
We're
we
gonna
need
we're gonna
we
cut
need
that,
a
aren't we?
professor of boob physics on this show.
But I'm also careful to have to make sure that I have women beta readers.
Mhm.
Fortunately, I've said this before, I have a fantastic writing partner, my daughter Rylan. She has been invaluable when I kinda get to the weird edges of, writing a female main character. She can say, I'm trying to think of a specific example, but she'll say, I don't think a woman would do this," or something. So Rylan is kind of my sensitivity reader. Now, fortunately for me, both of my books are thrillers, so I'm not writing erotica from a female point of view, right? And
Look,
so I get
it's hard. I've just tried writing some spice.
I know we talked about that.
It is so
So many
hard.
legs.
So many legs, so many legs. I fixed it, by the way. I
Okay,
did
good.
fix it eventually. I figured out look, when you're trying to do things that involve legs and arms,
Yeah.
it's you're like, "Well, how does that work? What it like, it's surprisingly difficult to get a pair of underwear off of a character. You'd think it was easier, but it's sex scenes. It's a good point, like, you need to be sensitive. If you are writing what you think to be a clean or clean-ish, like
Mhm.
1 or 2 Chili Peppers romance, nobody wants to see your, like, 50 Shades of Grey, kind of fantasia here.
Especially from me, yeah.
No, yeah, yeah, nobody wants to see it. So be careful about it. Also, you may suck at writing it. I'm making myself do it so I can be less sucky at
You know
it.
what's really hard about writing a sex scene? So my first book, I actually had gone spicier than it has wound up to be when I my first draft, and I realized that I cannot keep track of body parts.
Yeah, I know, I
I'm
know,
like,
I know,
"Where did this 3rd arm come from, and who does it belong to?"
I know. There's so much, like, standing up and sitting down and lying
Yeah.
down and,
Yeah.
reclining and doing this and doing that, and I ended up just being like, "I'm drawing the veil," because I'm like, "I'm done. You know what happens now.
Yeah.
Trust
Yeah.
me, they go to Pound Town. You don't need to see all of it. Like, just trust me."
Yeah.
And
Anybody expecting to read my book for spice is gonna be sorely disappointed. I finally just had to draw a line. Same thing, was like, "And fade to black."
mine at book 2 at, like, a 1.5 to 1 and 3/4 chili pepper,
I
book
don't even think I
yeah.
made it to a chili pepper, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit more than a bell pepper, but, not a lot more, I just cringe. It's like infinite cringe where I'm just vanishing into a singular point within myself when I'm writing this. It's so hard. All of you romance, especially you filthy romance writers, first of all, I love reading your stuff. It's fucking great. I can't do it. You are awesome. And I trust you. I trust that you're going to get me to the other side, but don't trust me. I can't do it. Right. So, I mean, the whole thing is that we're trying to get our readers to trust us. If you can't
Mhm.
do it, if
Yeah,
you can't sensitively write men, you can't sensitively write Asian people, gay people, trans people, then either seriously reconsider what you're doing or cultivate a strong relationship with a sensitivity reader if you feel that it is absolutely necessary to
for sure.
have this particular
N
character.
now I have to say there's nothing wrong with having, other characters out of your experience, right? So,
100%.
have an Asian best friend or,
Mhm,
or a black acquaintance or, something to make your book inclusive. And let
yeah,
me tell you, I could listen to my own advice because I look back on my previous books and I don't think I've been inclusive enough. But there are ways to be inclusive
mhm.
without uh kind
Without
of
tokenism.
without tokenism. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Perfect. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. I have a big section of book 2 that is set in Manhattan in the summer of 2008. It would be unrealistic for there not to be diverse characters in this milieu. It just would not be realistic if everybody was white, and everybody was straight. That is not it at all. Whereas in book 1, a big chunk of it takes place in northern Vermont, a place that is as white as where I grew up in Connecticut, so that there are more white people up there and more diverse people in other parts of the world makes sense. You need to make it make sense. So, as we kind of, like, start wrapping this up, let's talk about, what do you owe a reader in terms of your endings to your book, right? Do
Mm,
you owe your reader a satisfying ending? And if so, like, what does that even mean? Like, we said for romances, it's got to be a happily ever after or
right.
happily for now. But like, what do you expect at the end of a horror novel?
So there's two things that could be in opposition, but hopefully you've crafted it in such a way that they come together. And that is a satisfying ending and the ending that your story deserves.
Mhm.
With any luck, those 2 work together.
A
But
really good point.
I have read books where it was very obvious to me that the writer either had a very specific ending in mind
Mhm.
or just kind of wanted to railroad it into this type of an ending. And the story that they were telling did not line up with that
Mhm.
ending. And that's I think if you're trying to cheat because you want a specific ending, I'm not sure that that's gon I think that a smart reader is going to be able to understand that that's what you're doing. And so, I would say that primarily you owe the story the ending that makes the most sense. But
Mhm.
you also, you do owe your reader that, and so you want those 2 things to be in alignment.
Yeah. But at the same time, you are also the author, and you get to do what you want. And
Exactly.
you can't please all the people all the time.
You cannot, and I've read some books too that I was not satisfied with the ending, but, the ending still made sense to me.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's hard. Endings are hard, right?
They're
Endings
really hard.
ending a book Stephen King famously is
He's
terrible.
shit. He's
He's
awful.
terrible with his
He's the
endings,
worst.
right?
He's so terrible. Yeah.
And I used to give him no quarter on that before I was, like, really serious about writing, and now I'm just like, "Dude, I get it. I so get it." Like,
Yeah.
I am never going to complain, about the ending to I can't even remember, an ending now, Firestarter or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
They're hard work. They're hard
yeah.
work. The fun bit is all the writing, you know?
Mhm,
The
mhm,
shit bit is the stopping writing,
mhm.
especially if you love your world, you love your characters, and now you've gotta get out of that space. Gross.
Yeah.
I just wanna be here forever, and it's hard stuff. I talked through the ending of book 2 with my colleague yesterday. I talked her through the last 4 chapters, and she kept going, "Ooh, ooh, ooh, ooh," as I was getting there, and I thought, "Okay, so I have an ending that works. Don't know if it's satisfying, but it does work. Okay, so now I have to make it satisfying, but who it'll satisfy, I don't know. There are gonna be some people who are really gonna hate this ending. That's okay."
I have a book where my plan from conception was that one of these characters would be killed off. That was the ending as I wrote it, as I got to the last chapters, maybe 2 chapters of my book. That was the plan. And then it just suddenly hit me that it would be a really shitty thing for me to kill that character. And so I killed him off anyway. No, I didn't. But yeah, so you're going to surprise yourself too as a
Yeah,
writer.
yeah,
Don't don't go in thinking, don't go in so rigid that you get to a point where you go, this doesn't make sense." But that's what I've had, planned all along, and and then you start coming up with these things in your head like, "This is why it actually does make sense," and then you're gonna cheat your reader, you're gonna cheat your story. Go where the story leads you.
yeah. Yeah, and you'll know when it feels weird. There are so many things when that you'd say, "Oh, I'll deal with it in post," right? And then you get wed to something and you're like, "Oh, I can't change it." No, you can change everything. You are the author. You can do it. So
Mhm.
don't feel like hidebound. Go ahead, change it. Sort of as the segue between this whole topic and our hot goss. I thought we should also talk about what readers don't get to demand, and I think we can actually kind of build this into hot goss a little bit.
Mhm.
Hot goss, y'all. Um,
Yay, let's do it.
Yay. Okay, so as I keep saying, heated rivalry will heal the world, except perhaps if you are a new person to the world of fanfic and you have decided that you are going to consume everything that you can find on Archive of Our Own, also known as AO3, not AOC, as I often accidentally say, and fanfiction.net. There's lots of different places. So, Heated Rivalry, huge franchise as a book, beginning to be a huge franchise as a television show. People love it. People want to consume more. Author of the series, Rachel Reed, is taking a break right now from writing. And the show is, it's gotta do a whole new season. So, in the meantime, this is what fanfic is great for, is, like, filling the gap between
Yeah.
canon
Yeah.
and, like, the next bit of canon. So, one of the things about fan fiction is that it does engender a real sense of community between writer and reader. It's very close, extremely close. As authors of trad pub or indie pub, we have a little bit of disconnect. We don't always we're encouraged not to, like, be in, like, reader spaces necessarily. Fan fiction, the authors are in the reader spaces because they are readers themselves, and it is part of the expectation that writers will be interacting with their readers extremely close. So, Heated Rivalry has been so popular that it has brought more people who don't understand the conventions of how writers and readers perform in these spaces.
Mhm.
And one of the things that you have to expect is that the people who are writing fan fiction, they do it because it's pure passion.
That's right.
They're doing it because they love it and because they can't help themselves and because they want to read more about the characters and the worlds that they love and share it with people for free
Right.
most of the time.
Right.
And there have been these new readers coming into these spaces who have been demanding of fanfic authors that they perform more frequently, i.e., I need more of your work right now. You're not writing fast enough. Like, you don't get to do that. You don't have to be available to interact with your fans. You don't need to write the ending that they want or the characters, the ships, as they say, the
Yeah.
romantic
Yeah.
pairings that you want. You are the writer. You get to do these things. If somebody commissions you, that's another thing altogether.
Sure, sure.
You know, you don't get to go into these spaces, where there are distinct rules and make these demands. There was a great thread. I can't believe I'm saying it. There was a great thread on Threads, but there was a great thread on Threads on this. The author Girls Rule, and we'll link to she is great. Just really fantastic. I started reading some of her fics. I'll link her to her archive of our own site. She just was saying the most awful things, like just the abuse that she's been getting. You're not writing fast enough, or people writing sexually explicit things to her, like shocking things to her. And she's like, "I'm just a person who likes doing this. Like, why are you doing this to me?"
For
Or
free, by the way.
yeah,
Yeah.
no compensation.
For the love of the game, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And she said, like, "I've never seen anything like this in any other fandom. Like, what is this?" And, well, I'm sorry to say, people, but again, capitalism.
Damn it. Damn
Damn
it.
it. Damn it, damn it, damn it. God, I went like half an hour without talking about it. But people in the comments were saying there are a lot of, as I said, a lot of new people brought into these spaces, but there's an element of capitalism. Like, I am a consumer. I expect my producer to perform. But writers are not content producers. We are writers. You can be a content producer who writes things to create content, but most of us are writers who have to make content to promote our shit, but we're not, like, a lot of us suck at marketing. Pointing
Yeah.
2 thumbs at myself. I don't know. Like, and you don't get to make these demands.
We're not your
Like,
dancing monkey.
absolutely not. Nobody gave me a little hat and, like, an
Yeah.
accordion. Like,
I would rock a little hat and accordion,
you
though. I
would,
want you
you
to know
would.
that. Yeah.
Somebody needs to give me an accordion, a little concertina. 'Cause I'm
Yeah.
pretty short, so, like,
I want a
I could
little,
rock a
what's it called?
concertina.
A hurdy-gurdy?
Yeah,
That that's it?
hurdy-gurdy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I want.
but
If you're gonna
no,
make these demands, then you're gonna give me a hurdy-gurdy.
absolutely. We're going to set up his, like, Patreon where
Yes.
it like, the peak level is hurdy-gurdy level,
Yeah.
where if you purchase a hurdy-gurdy for Kirk, he will perform
I
for
will
one night
perform for
only.
you. Yes. Yeah, for one night only. I will perform for you. My little red hat.
You
Yes.
might not like it,
I will be your
but
dancing monkey. Yeah.
You will, but it's
I'm
like,
gonna regret
why?
that.
It's somebody's gonna be like, "Mr. Rafferty, your hurdy-gurdy is waiting."
I just need a shipping address.
Ugh. Most of you who are listening are writers, I assume. I think most of us know better than to do this, but we
Mhm.
all have our brain fart moments,
Yeah. Well,
and
writers are readers, right? So, yeah,
hopefully,
I expect
hopefully. I mean, topic for another time, but the person on Threads who said it was ableist to expect writers to read. Well, look, it takes all sorts. I'm not thinking that our listeners do this, but if you know people who do this, tell them don't do this.
Mhm,
You
mhm.
know,
Make them stop.
remind them. Yeah, sometimes it's easier for people to have sympathy when it's somebody that they know. So if you're like, "I am a writer, and I would not like it if you told me, like, 'Dance, Monica, dance!'" So, Monica, if you're out there, please tell your friend Heather, like, just tell her, don't harass this lovely lady Jules on AO3, not AOC. It's all bad.
We always seem to come back to either readers or writers or both, misbehaving. So, most of our hot goss could actually be summed up with just, "Don't be misbehaving."
Generally, yes, although we did have our,
Also,
you know,
capitalism sucks.
capitalism sucks. We did also have our holiday extravaganza where we got to call out a publisher. That was also fun.
Yes.
Yes, and we did also have a few mild comments for agents the other week.
Everybody start behaving. Just start behaving.
I I am just a paragon of good behavior
I
at
am too. I
all.
am too.
I know this,
Yeah.
I know. Look, if you need lessons on good behavior, don't ask us, but we'll give you our opinions anyway. I'd say the main takeaway this week, besides, capitalism sucks and don't harass writers, is that we owe readers certain things, but we're still in control of the worlds that we create. We also just need to make sure that we engender the kind of trust with our readers that they'll still want to take their hands and let us walk them through our weird worlds. So, next week we have an interview. Super psyched about this.
I
We
am
are
too.
in, yeah, we
We haven't
are,
done an interview in a while.
no, Jessica was the last one that we had. And we are interviewing Isaac Grijalva. He has a new book that just came out at the beginning of this month called 6.5 Days in the City. And it is available on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble. He's got a website. I'll put the details, of course, in next
Yeah,
week's
let you
episode,
get a
but
head start.
I
Yeah.
will also put it in the show notes for this one, and put them online. You're gonna hear this, like, after we record it, but read it. I've started it. I'm about halfway through. It is super cute, but also really moving. I highly recommend it, and really looking forward to talking to him. We wanna talk to more indie authors as, they lure us over to their side.
I know.
Maybe one day Kirk will interview me. And well, I always planned to self-pub all along, of course.
That's right.
That all of this querying was just so I
It's a
could
smokescreen.
it was a smokescreen. Also so I could write a novel about querying.
Yes. It was research.
It was all so can I write it off?
It was research. How much can I hurt myself?
Until then, you can find us on all the socials. We are Badlit Friends everywhere on Blue Sky, Instagram. I posted on Instagram this morning.
Crazy.
Crazy. Not on Threads yet, but find us on Threads. Once I figure out how to do that, I will post on Threads. YouTube is up. I enabled it this morning. Go me, doing better every week. And Spotify reminded me as I was uploading the episode today that I should remind our listeners to subscribe on Spotify because it makes a difference. And that difference being that the more subscriptions that we get, the more frequently that we are recommended through the algorithm on Spotify to other listeners.
Yes,
So if you think other writers would like to hear us, you can, of course, let them know. But if you want to help other writers that you don't even know, if you like and subscribe, that will help other people find us.
for sure.
You'll learn something every day. Until next time, Kirk, we will see you then.
Bye.